Reflexive and intensive pronouns, a grade 6 language arts production. Before we begin, we need to review pronouns and their antecedents. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. We're already familiar with personal and possessive pronouns, such as I, they, him, us, your, her, etc. Feel free to review your notes from our first 2 pronoun lessons to refresh your memory. An antecedent is the noun to which a pronoun refers. Remember, the antecedent isn't always found in the same sentence. In the example below, Peter Pan is the antecedent and he is the pronoun. Believe it or not, there are many different types of pronouns. Today, we are going to add 2 more pronouns to our tool belt, reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns. That's right, the chart is back. We can use the chart to help us learn these pronouns too. Just like with personal and possessive pronouns, reflexive and intensive pronouns need to agree in number, singular or plural, person, first, second, or third, and gender, male, female, or neutral. If you draw your attention to the first and second person pronouns in this chart, you will notice that reflexive and intensive pronouns are easily formed by taking a possessive pronoun and adding self to the singular form and selves to the plural form. The third person reflexive and intensive pronouns are formed by joining personal pronouns in the objective case with self or selves. By now, you should have noticed that reflexive and intensive pronouns are the same. So how do we tell them apart? Well, they each have a different role in a sentence. A reflexive pronoun reflects or refers back to the subject of the sentence. In the example, Peter helped himself to the soap in the bathroom. Himself is referring back to the subject, Peter. An intensive pronoun intensifies or emphasizes a noun or pronoun in the sentence. In the example, Wendy reattached Peter's shadow herself. The pronoun herself emphasizes the fact that Wendy attached the shadow on her own. Confused? Don't worry. There's a trick to knowing when you are using a reflexive pronoun or an intensive pronoun. Let's take a look at this sentence, which contains a reflexive pronoun. Wendy could not fly by herself. She needed fairy dust. In this example, herself reflects the subject, Wendy. There's another trick that tells us this is a reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronouns are necessary for the sentence to make sense. If we remove the reflexive pronoun, the sentence that we are left with either won't make sense or it won't carry the same meaning. Intensive pronouns, on the other hand, aren't exactly necessary. Since they only add emphasis, if we take them out, the sentence will still make sense and it will still carry the intended meaning. Let's look at the example. John and Michael themselves were eager to see Neverland. In this sentence, themselves reflects John and Michael. Since the job of the intensive pronoun is to simply emphasize, we can remove it from the sentence without losing the main idea. Don't forget, just like personal and possessive pronouns, reflexive and intensive pronouns need to agree in number, person, and gender. A sentence such as, "Please sprinkle that fairy dust on myself," is incorrect because there is no I subject to which the pronoun myself can refer. In this sentence, you should simply use an object pronoun. Okay, let's try out the strategy together to decide which of these 2 sentences contains a reflexive pronoun and which contains an intensive pronoun. Sentence A. Peter himself did not know where he left his shadow. Sentence B. Tinkerbell trapped herself in the dresser. Which sentence still makes sense when you take away the pronoun? If you said sentence A was intensive, you are correct. Sentence B does not make sense if you take away the reflexive pronouns. Let's review what you've learned today. You know that an intensive pronoun emphasizes a noun or pronoun, and that the sentence would still make sense if it wasn't there. Mrs. Darling had a vague memory of Peter Pan. You know that a reflexive pronoun refers back to the subject and is necessary in the sentence. Mr. Darling put the blame on for the disappearance. Doesn't make sense. Lastly, you know that pronouns always need to agree in person, number, and gender. John and Michael are third person plural. Check the antecedent and use your chart to help. Great job! Now you know all about reflexive and intensive pronouns, and you're ready to practice identifying and using them on your own. Thanks for watching! Today's lesson was brought to you in part by the Common Core State Standards for 6th grade Language Arts.